Medvedchuk was the ultimate source of the requests and the money you received. You were apprehended at Manchester Airport on the 13th of September 2021. Your mobile device was confiscated and you cooperated by providing its PIN, stating your journey to Russia was at the behest of a scientific conference in Moscow. Forensic analysis of your phone revealed extensive correspondence with Voloshin from September 2018 to December 2020. The genesis of your relationship culminated in a visit to Kyiv in November 2018 when you toured 112 Ukraine's studios. Subsequently, Voloshin solicited your participation in making statements within the European Parliament and to media outlets for which you received payment. The statements advanced narratives advantageous to Russian interests concerning Ukraine. This was a period of considerable turmoil in Ukraine and a prelude to the full-scale Russian invasion in February 2022. Count 2. On the 12th of December 2018, you delivered a parliamentary speech criticising Ukraine's purported undemocratic practices and suppression of press freedom. Ironically, your speech was meticulously scripted by Voloshin, and you were remunerated for its verbatim delivery. You shared a video of the speech with Voloshin, who praised your oratory. You replied, "V should be pleased with this 3 times what he thought," alluding to Viktor Medvedchuk. Count 3. On the 5th of February 2019, you gave an interview to 112 Ukraine voicing concern over Medvedchuk's high treason allegation, as per Voloshin's directive, and using a list of talking points you requested from him. This was for a certain reward. You referenced a German MEP as a potential participant in the broadcast, noting he would not require rewarding. Voloshin, after consulting V, encouraged you to arrange the involvement of 3 MEPs, promising and later confirming a monetary reward of €5,000. The interview, solely featuring you, aired under the headline MEPs Condemn Criminal Case Against Viktor Medvedchuk. Count 4. On the 6th and 7th of February, you enlisted the MEPs for South West England, North West England and North East England, as well as the German MEP, to give interviews to 112 Ukraine at Voloshin's request, adopting and in line with a script he sent you. I must make it clear that the case has not been presented on the basis that any of those individuals knew how you were acting, namely that you'd been promised altogether 5K for it. Voloshin described your work as outstanding. Count 5. On the 14th of March 2019, following Voloshin's proposition of a reward, you participated in a parliamentary debate concerning Kazakhstan. The underlying intent was to comment upon the Ukrainian election campaign. Employing Voloshin's script, you claimed to have reliable reports of human rights watchdogs being concerned about growing challenges to democracy, and you alleged governmental pressure on media, notably 112 Ukraine. Medvedchuk praised your brilliant speech, and Voloshin indicated a budget was available for you contingent upon the number of friendly MEPs you could muster for further supportive commentary, with the promise of at least 5K for your efforts. The subject matter was to be stability of gas transit through Ukraine, with praise for Medvedchuk and the Russian Prime Minister, Dmitry Medvedev, and Voloshin supplied details of what was to be said. Count 6. On the 25th of March, commentary from a French MEP was disseminated, followed by 4 others, 3 of them British, on the 27th of March. All followed the lines that Voloshin had fed you. Again, there's no evidence that these participants, the MEPs for East Midlands, South West England, and one who'd already contributed, were aware of your pecuniary motivation. On the 3rd of April, you received €5,000 and $2,000 from Voloshin. He told you Medvedchuk was boasting to his friends about the friendly words you had arranged for the MEPs to say. Count 7. On the 24th of May, Voloshin offered €2,000 for a television interview criticising the recently elected President Zelensky of Ukraine, questioning his commitment to pursuing a peace agenda with Russia, and by contrast, lauding Viktor Medvedchuk's initiatives to find a compromise. You complied, and your interview was broadcast, with Medvedchuk describing your contribution as brilliant and devastating for traditional establishment victory. Your enthusiastic reply was, "Thank you both, we have our work cut out." Count 8. In late May and June, Voloshin solicited your assistance in hosting Viktor Medvedchuk at the European Parliament for the presentation of his Donbass peace plan ahead of parliamentary elections in Ukraine in July. You agreed to be rewarded for inviting fellow Brexit Party members. The Donbass is an industrial heartland, rich in natural resources, and Ukraine had declared it occupied by Russia in 2018. Voloshin referred to $13,000 he owed you and to having secured €4,000 he was bringing for you. Count 9. Between the 12th and 18th of July, you agreed in exchange for compensation to facilitate positive commentary from MEPs regarding the pro-Russian channel News One and its joint event with a Russian broadcaster. After 112 Ukraine's premises were damaged by a grenade launcher, you were instructed to submit a written question for the Vice President of the European Commission and High Representative for Foreign Affairs, commending an urgent investigation of a terrorist attack on the TV station. You acquiesced, submitting the question on the 17th of July, which was published on the Parliament's website. Your subsequent communications with Voloshin included requests for talking points and arrangements for new MEPs to make statements. Voloshin acknowledged owing you for these endeavours. Your collaboration persisted after the UK's departure from the EU, with evidence indicating you received $5,000 and €5,000 in Kyiv in December 2020, the maximum cash allowable for cross-border transport. Voloshin was intercepted by the FBI in Washington in July 2021 and sanctioned by the United States in January 2022. He was indicted for treason in Ukraine in February 2023. Viktor Medvedchuk was placed under house arrest in 2021. Eventually, he was sent to Russia in September 2022 as part of a prisoner exchange. You attended a police interview on the 3rd of March 2022, responding no comment to all queries concerning the contents of your phone. Charged by postal requisition on the 30th of January 2025, you appeared before the court on the 24th of February. At a preliminary hearing on the 14th of March, you indicated not guilty pleas. You informed the prosecution of your intent to plead guilty to counts 2 to 9 shortly before entering those pleas on the 26th of September. The statutory maximum for a single offence under Section 2 of the Bribery Act 2010 is 10 years imprisonment. No pre-sentence report was deemed necessary. I apply the relevant guidelines for the offence, for guilty pleas, and for totality. In evaluating your culpability, I must consider your role and the sophistication of your offending. You abused a position of significant authority and trust, with your crimes spanning 8 months, motivated by financial and political gain. The offending was sophisticated. You accepted payments from foreign nationals, made statements on important international matters at their behest, utilised scripted material presented as your own, and orchestrated the involvement of other MEPs. Your culpability is categorised as high, Category A. Mr. Wright, King's Counsel, contends that harm should be classified as Category 2, arguing that your actions had a significant but not serious impact on the European Parliament's proper functioning. The Crown asserts that Category 1 is applicable. I agree with the prosecution. The harm inflicted is indeed profound. Your conduct fundamentally compromised the integrity of a supranational legislative body, particularly in its dealings with Russia, a persistently hostile state, during a period of an association agreement between the EU and Ukraine reached in 2017. The revelation of your actions has a broad and deleterious effect on public confidence and trust in democratic institutions of importance to many dozens of millions of people. The aggregate financial gain, although difficult to quantify precisely due to the piecemeal and cash nature of payments, is substantial. The sentencing guidelines prescribe a starting point of 7 years custody with a range of 5 to 8 years for a single offence. Given the imperative to signal deterrence and the multitude of high culpability factors, the gravity of this case elevates it to the upper echelons of the normal range, even before considering 2 additional factors. Firstly, the offending was persistent rather than an isolated lapse of judgment. Secondly, the particularly egregious abuse of your position is exemplified in counts 4 and 6, where you enlisted other British MEPs without their knowledge of your financial motivation. Being careful to guard against double counting for any feature, nonetheless, these factors warrant a substantial upward adjustment, and justice necessitates consideration of consecutive terms amounting to a total of at least 16 years, exceeding the statutory maximum for a single offence, before mitigation. There is scant personal mitigation. At 52 years of age, your previous unblemished character is of limited significance, as a clean record facilitates electoral success and thus the opportunity to perpetrate such offences. In character references, you are described as a loving family man of deep faith who has demonstrated selflessness in public and private in the past. I have considered the impact of custodial punishment on your children. I must also reflect the mitigating effect of the passage of time since the offending and delays not attributable to your conduct. Weighing all the mitigation, I reduce the sentence by 2 years. Thus, the aggregate sentence prior to the mandatory reduction for your guilty pleas is 14 years. The law compels a reduction proportionate to the stage at which you indicated your intent to plead guilty, reflecting your acceptance of responsibility and sparing the court and the public the burden of a trial. You pleaded guilty at the plea and trial preparation hearing, having made no admissions in police interview and initially indicating not guilty pleas. As already observed, the evidence is derived almost exclusively from your own mobile device. The charges concern your agreement to accept money rather than the content of parliamentary and other utterances per se. After careful attention to the chronology, the Court of Appeal's guidance and the submissions, a 25% discount is appropriate. Upon reviewing the case holistically and applying the principle of totality to ensure the sentence is just and proportionate, no further reduction is warranted. Nathan Gill, please stand. When you were elected, you were entrusted to exercise independent judgment and uphold the highest standards of integrity, values of paramount importance. In seeking public office, one pledges to act in accordance with conscience and the public good. Parliamentarians wield significant influence over public and political discourse. It is incumbent upon them to speak with honesty and conviction, irrespective of whether their views are met with approval or dissent. When you say what someone has paid you to say, you are not speaking with sincerity. If it were your genuine opinion, you would not need to be paid for saying it. Whether or not you believed any of what you said at the behest of Voloshin and Medvedchuk, allowing money to corrupt your moral compass constitutes a grave betrayal of the trust vested in you by the electorate. Your misconduct has ramifications far beyond personal honour, which is now irretrievably damaged. It erodes public confidence in democracy. When politicians succumb to financial inducement, the public can no longer rely on the veracity of political debate, which may be tainted by disinformation. The enlisting of fellow representatives into this activity compounds the wrongdoing, undermining the mutual trust essential to the proper functioning of democratic institutions. The corrosive damage to public life caused by such actions is enduring. The court regards bribery as a malignancy at the heart of public life, one that impoverishes the national interest. Those entrusted with public leadership are required to adhere to the highest standards of probity. The law will respond to such breaches with stern punishment, both to mark society's condemnation and to deter others from similar transgressions. The sentence on count 2 is 5 years imprisonment. The sentence on all other counts except count 4 is 5 years concurrent. The sentence on count 4 is 5.5 years consecutive, making a total sentence of 10.5 years. You will be eligible for release on licence after serving half the term, and you must abide by the conditions of the licence until the full sentence is served. Please go down, Mr. Gill.
Well, this really is a fall from grace for Nathan Gill, who was the former leader for Reform UK for Wales. He was also a former leader for UKIP in Wales, and here he's been sentenced at the Old Bailey for 10.5 years after pleading guilty to 8 counts of bribery. And this all goes back to when he was a member of the European Parliament, and he was accused of a pro-Russian interference campaign, and that pro-Russian interference campaign had 3 strands to it. One, that he was given money to go on pro-Russian media outlets and speak in support of an ally very close to Vladimir Putin, and that's Viktor Medvedchuk. So that was one strand of this pro-Russian influence campaign. But there was another strand to it as well, and that was for him to make speeches in the European Parliament between 2018 and 2019. And these were, again, pro-Russian speeches that he was being paid for in bribes by what is now an ex-Ukrainian politician who is himself also pro-Russian, and that's Oleg Voloshin, a pro-Russian former Ukrainian politician. And they were exchanging WhatsApps, and he was encouraging him on certain speeches that he was making in European Parliament to give a favourable light to Russian behaviour. And Nathan Gill was also encouraged to co-opt other MEPs who had a similar political persuasion, and we understand investigations into that are ongoing. But these bribes that went on for a considerable period of time, we understand from Scotland Yard, accounted for about £40,000, so a significant sum of money that was exchanged there in response to Nathan Gill, a 52-year-old man, making supportive comments in the media, in Parliament, trying to give a positive message of Russia only a few years before, of course, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So it was at an incredibly sensitive time. And this all came about in 2021 when Gill was at an airport going to fly to Russia, when he was then stopped by counter-terrorism officials and they took his phone. And it was then when they looked at his phone that they saw a number of long exchanges with Oleg Voloshin, who is this ex-Ukrainian politician who is favourable to Russia. And they had a number of exchanges back and forth, including making it clear that there were bribes that were taking place in exchange for him, Gill, promoting this pro-Russian message. And in the WhatsApps that we saw, heard in court today, those WhatsApps described Christmas gifts, and they were a euphemism for briberies that was taking place. Now, at no point in these proceedings has Gill offered any explanation for his behaviour at all, and Scotland Yard had said that he was motivated by pure greed, and that was something that was really echoed in court today by Mrs Justice Chima Grubb, who said that he had abused his position of trust as an MEP, which is meant to act with integrity and not for personal interest or gain, and that is clearly not what happened here. And she said because of the harm that he inflicted was profound, she's given him a 10.5-year prison sentence, which he will serve. Thank you. Thanks for the timings. Top of the one. Okay, fine. Oh, right, thank you. I've got to be on top of the one now. But...
Do you want to interview a member of the Welsh Senate? Ukrainian member of the Welsh Parliament?
Yes, I would. I would like to do it live. You can just let me do this, and then I'll be with you. Thank you. That would appreciate it. Oh, okay.
They're the ones that, when they went in, threw the money, that fake money over the went in. Shout for all. He thinks we're also here. You can't, if you want to do it live, you'll have to change the mic. If it's just you, keep that.
I'm not going to do my live.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
Can I, do you mind?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not my best, but it's the only one. It's the only one that fits right now. So. Oh, thank you. Oh God, that was a lot. What's that? Do you think so? God, that's so kind. I'd literally never heard of this until I walked in.
He has one fact. It's really good.
Oh, Jonathan, you're so kind.
All you had is 10.5 years.
That's really kind. I will speak to Fine. Fine, lovely.
How much do you charge?
We arrived to meet your scrum. Did you read out?
No, but I heard, yeah.
Media scrum, he didn't say anything. He moved his hands to part of the media scrum, and then as he walked in, the protest they threw fake money.
Could use, I might use it. We're going to do a VT, so
Right, yeah.
that'd be good.
But he arrived to media scrum and didn't say anything at all.
I'm sure that just saying who you are. Where are you from?
Sky, do you want, just bear with me.
Oh, Sky,
No,
we're
not
in
at
there.
all. I'll come and have a chat with you in 5 minutes.
Below this.
Fine. Yes, that's right. And this is a real fall from grace for Nathan Gill. He arrived here at the Old Bailey earlier today to a media frenzy before making his place in the dock here at the Old Bailey, a court that is usually reserved for people who've committed murders. But here you have a man, a 52-year-old man, who used to be leader of Reform UK for Wales. But here he is being sentenced for 10 and a half years in prison for accepting bribes. Really shocking to hear the details in court. But as you say, these go back to when he was at an airport in the UK making a flight to Russia back in 2021 when he was stopped by security and counter-terrorism, and they picked up his phone, and it was then going through the WhatsApp messages between him and Oleg Voloshin, who was a Ukrainian politician who with a pro-Russian stance, and it was there, these WhatsApps, which revealed the communication between the two of them, and most crucially, evidence of bribery that was taking place. And in court today, we heard of the complexity of this pro-Russian influence campaign. Firstly, it involved Mr. Gill making pro-Russian statements on Russian-friendly media channels in Ukraine. So that was one part of it, and he was meant to be making statements in support of Viktor Medvedchuk, who is a very close ally of Putin's. That was one part of this campaign. The second part was to be speaking in the European Parliament, because he was an MEP, and it was between 2018 and 2019 that he made a number of pro-Russian statements, many of which the WhatsApps between him and Oleg Voloshin were then, you could see the exchanging of WhatsApps which were then influencing what he was saying in Parliament, and many times he was reading direct quotes from Mr. Voloshin. But Mr. Gill was also asked and encouraged to co-opt other MEPs as well, and there is an investigation into that is ongoing. But we understand that the amount of money that Mr. Gill was receiving in return for these bribes was around £40,000, so it's a really significant sum. But throughout the police investigations, as you heard earlier, he said no comment and wouldn't give any more indication as to his motivation behind accepting these bribes. But the judge presiding over the sentencing today, Mrs. Justice Chima Grubb, said that he abused his position because, of course, as an MEP, he should not be doing anything in exchange for money, and nothing for personal gain, is what she said. And because of what the harm that he inflicted was so profound, and that his behaviour was so persistent over such a significant period of time, that she sentenced him to 10 and a half years in prison. Thank you.
I concur. They overlaid a bit of it with the money and the arrival shot.
Good. Good.
We talked about the money, they showed the money.
Oh, nice.
No more evidence.
Don't think so. Let's do this end now, and then
We can do that. Yeah. Let me just come off the light.
we'll do that, and then I've got to do a sort of digi thing.
Just
Yeah, go on. It is out my ear, yeah. I've got to take my ear with me. I don't know who's seat that is, but I'm very grateful for it, whoever it was. Oh, thank you, Chris. That seat was incredibly helpful.
Oh, yeah, you're very welcome. If you grab hold of that, we have
Oh, yeah.
consistent message. Let me give you different reminders. Just as an end.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You come actually that side.
Me?
Oh, in Brighton. Treffy, just stand on the end on the...
It's not live.
No, that's okay.
Oh, thank you. It helps me spell it. Oh, I thought you said you were from the Ukrainian Parliament. Is that right?
Oh, sorry, no, the Welsh Parliament.
Welsh Parliament. This is the Parliament.
Maria, that. You want her in the interview?
I think that's sorry. I thought that's what you said.
I beg your pardon.
Which one do you want?
We got two.
Let's do that.
Mahalo is Ukrainian.
I am Ukrainian anyway.
Oh, are you? Okay, fine. Sorry.
I was just going to run the other way. Stay with us.
Maria.
Can you just say your full name and introduce yourself?
My name is Mick Antonev. I'm a member of the Welsh Parliament, the Senedd.
Give me your reaction to the sentencing today. 10.5 years is a
Well, I think 10.5 years reflects the seriousness of this matter. This was a major undermining of democracy and parliamentary process, a direct influence by Russia on UK affairs and on the interests of Great Britain. So it's basically an act of treason.
Do you think it raises questions over how easy it can be for MEPs to go one house?
I think it shows how easy it is for politicians in whichever parliament they're in to be influenced by money, but it also shows that clearly there is a programme of attempting to influence politicians through money, through various diverse matters. I think the sentencing today and what came out in terms of behind the offences actually opens many more questions. There was a conspiracy charge that lays on the file. There were clearly many other questions in terms of the extent to which other politicians were being influenced by Nathan Gill. And I think that raises the question now of needing to reopen an inquiry into Russian influence into UK affairs.
Take care. Thank you.
Investigations are ongoing into whether other MEPs were caught by Mr Gill. Is that something that you've got concerns about, that this goes beyond just Mr Gill?
It goes way beyond what was happening in Europe, and it's very clear that the engagement and the use of people to engage in the broader political discourse is something that's been happening for some time. Some of this is actually exposed in the Select Committee report in the House of Commons in 2020, and that basically said the UK government has never sought or seen evidence of interference in UK affairs. And what it raises the question is that we actually need UK government to actually investigate and find out what the full extent is, particularly at this crucial time in terms of European relations with Russia.
Thank you so much.
You haven't set up because we have to protest, so we've got shut off. Okay, brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Right. I'm not aware of any. No one's told me that there is. I've not heard that there is. Yes, that must be it. If it's done in advance, yeah.
Tell me about it. You can get inside for
I
5
know. Yeah, I'm not sure how.
Souvenir.
Do you know what the other amazing thing about it?
I've got £5
You know when you like watch spy movies or something, they will do postcards arriving for you, and they actually use it. It's like, I'll make sure there's a souvenir for you. Yeah, it was incredible. And then they start getting complacent and they fuck up and just, I'll just bring you 5k, fuck it. Let's not do the postcards anymore.
Yn llys yr O'Beili yn Llundain, mae Nathan Gill wedi cael derbyn 10 mlynedd a hanner. Yma yn llys yr O'Beili yn Llundain, mae Nathan Gill wedi cael y derbyn i'w garchar o 10 mlynedd a hanner. Hynny am wneud datganiadau o blaid Rwsia ar lawr Senedd Ewrop, ynghyd yn eich cyfweliadau hefyd i'r wasg blaid Rwsia. Nawr, ddisgrifiodd y barnwr y troseddau yn y rai soffistigedig drwy gydol y grandawiad fe nath Nathan Gill eistedd yn ymlaen a hynno nawr fe arne. Mae Nathan Gill newydd gael ei ddedfrydu 10 mlynedd a hanner. Nathan Gill wedi cael ei ddedfryd o 10 mlynedd a hanner yn hyn yn llys yr O'Beili yn Llundain. Hynny am wneud datganiadau o blaid Rwsia yn Senedd Ewrop pan oedd yn aelod o'r Senedd honno. Y barnwr yn disgrifio ei droseddau fel rhai soffistigedig. O drwy gydol y grandawiad, fe eisteddodd yn y gysylltu ymlaen yn gwbl ddi emosiwn. Nawr, fe fydd Nathan Gill, cyn-wleidydd o Langefni yn dad o 7 blant, yn dechrau ar ei ddedfydau heddiw. Gill wedi cael ei ddefnyddio i 10 mlynedd am hanner, a hynny yn mwy datganiadau o blaen o Rwsia. Yma yn llys yr Old Bailey, mae Nathan Gill wedi ddefnyddio i 10 mlynedd a hanner yn y camp. Yma yn llys yr Old Bailey yn Llundain, Nathan Gill yn derbyn dendryd Sorry guys, you have to listen to this again. 1 million times. I have to do it in Welsh. BBC Wales. Although I hope no one thinks I speak English. Yes, but it's all perfect. But in Welsh you've got mutations, and if you use mutations wrong place. Yma yn llys yr Old Bailey yn Llundain, Nathan Gill yn derbyn dendryd o 10 mlynedd a hanner, a hynny am wneud datganiadau o blaid Rwsia ar lawr Senedd Ewrop, a oedd yn aelod o'r Senedd honno yn y cyfweliadau heddiw. Nawr, yn ystod y lachos, fe ysteddodd Nathan Gill yn y doc yn edrych syth ymlaen i gwbl ddi emosiwn. Fe ddisgrifiodd y barnwr troseddau Nathan Gill fel rhai soffistigedig. Nawr, fe fydd y cyn-wleidydd yn dad o 7 o blant o Langefni yn dechrau ar ei gyfnod yn y carchar heddiw.
went in here with Holly Gailey.